"You let him go? What have you done?" A master mechanic with 32 years of dedication walked away, his skill, his loyalty, all dismissed as if they meant nothing. But 2 weeks later, a luxury car pulled up outside his new workplace, setting the stage for a twist no one saw coming. Today's story proves that true value can't be measured in numbers, because sometimes walking away isn't the end. It's just the beginning. Let's dive in. Daniel Carter, 50, was a master mechanic at Hamilton's Auto Repair, one of the longest-standing garages in Fairview. Unlike many in his field who jumped from shop to shop for better pay, Daniel had stayed loyal for nearly 3 decades. To him, Hamilton's was more than a job. It was a legacy. The customers weren't just clients, they were friends, neighbors, and family, and every car that rolled in carried a story he knew by heart. Daniel's journey wasn't easy. At 17, he dropped out of high school to care for his sick father. Desperate for work, he later stumbled into Hamilton's Auto Repair, where old Mr. Hamilton offered him more than just a job sweeping floors. Mr. Hamilton didn't just employ Daniel, he mentored him. He paid for Daniel's training and certifications, handed him books on engines and transmissions, and taught him that every mistake was a lesson, not a failure. His kindness went beyond the shop. When Daniel's father passed away 2 years later, Mr. Hamilton covered the funeral costs and gave Daniel a suit to wear. "No one should have to say goodbye to family alone," he said. Mr. Hamilton saw potential in Daniel when the rest of the world only saw a dropout. Over the years, Daniel rose from sweeping floors to becoming the most trusted mechanic in the county. He turned down high-paying offers from dealerships because loyalty to Hamilton's meant more than money. Hamilton's Auto Repair wasn't just another garage. The blue and white building on Maple Avenue had been a staple in the community for over 60 years, holding more stories than the town's history museum. Daniel started there back when Mr. Hamilton still worked the bays himself, treating him like the son he never had. When Daniel's son Ryan needed emergency surgery 12 years ago, Mr. Hamilton quietly took care of the hospital bill and never once asked for repayment. The shop's stellar reputation was largely thanks to Daniel. His skills were unmatched, his knowledge of engines and transmissions so thorough that even the most complicated repairs seemed like child's play to him. But it was his heart that truly set him apart. Where most mechanics saw cars as mere machinery, Daniel saw them as extensions of the people who owned them. Every vehicle that rolled into Hamilton's Auto Repair was treated like it mattered, because to Daniel, it did. He'd learned from Mr. Hamilton that being a great mechanic wasn't just about fixing cars, it was about caring for the people who drove them. That lesson stuck with him more than any technical training ever could. Daniel knew Mrs. Monroe, a retired teacher, relied on her rusty old sedan to visit her grandkids in the next town over. She was on a tight pension and could barely afford groceries some months, let alone repairs. So whenever she came in with a rattle or a sputtering engine, Daniel would fix the minor issues for free, his payment coming in the form of her grateful smile. For major repairs, he'd let her pay over time, jotting down a note in his ledger with nothing but a handshake to seal the agreement. Trust was the currency at Hamilton's, and Daniel had earned plenty of it. Then there was Mr. Dawson and his beloved 1967 Camaro, a sleek black beauty that looked like it belonged on a racetrack rather than the sleepy streets of Fairview. To most, it was just another classic car. But Daniel knew better. That Camaro was the last gift Mr. Dawson's father had given him before heading off to war, never to return. Keeping that car running wasn't just maintenance, it was preservation of a memory, a tribute to something irreplaceable. Daniel treated the vehicle with the same reverence he'd show a priceless artifact, pouring hours into its upkeep and restoration, always refusing to take more than what was fair. Daniel's reputation spread far beyond the town's limits. Collectors and classic car enthusiasts from miles away brought their prized vehicles to Hamilton's, trusting only Daniel with their most valuable possessions. The gleaming '59 Corvette he restored became a local legend, eventually earning a place of honor in the state's automotive museum. The museum director had even offered Daniel a job, promising a generous salary and pristine working conditions. Daniel had politely declined, telling the man, "I belong here, Hamilton's is home." Then, everything changed. 6 months ago, Mr. Hamilton retired and left the shop to his nephew Tyler, a business school graduate with big plans and little patience. Unlike his uncle, Tyler wasn't interested in building relationships or honoring the shop's legacy. He only cared about profits and numbers. His first move was to overhaul what he called inefficiencies. He standardized prices, discarding the long-standing practice of pay what you can when you can that Mr. Hamilton had lived by. To Tyler, discounted or delayed payments were nothing but lost revenue. "Goodwill doesn't pay the bills," he would say whenever Daniel tried to protest. "We need to run this place like a real business, not some charity case." Tyler raised prices, cut discounts, and pushed for faster turnover, urging Daniel and the other mechanics to rush repairs and prioritize quantity over quality. "Time is money," Tyler insisted. "The more cars we push through, the more profit we make. It's basic economics." Tyler's obsession with profit was relentless. He approached the shop like a hostile takeover, determined to squeeze every ounce of efficiency from a place built on compassion and craftsmanship. His first move was installing timers in every bay, sleek digital displays mounted above the workstations that tracked repair speeds to the second. Daniel despised them. They turned skilled labor into a race against the clock, rewarding haste over care. But Tyler's cost-cutting measures didn't stop there. High-quality parts were swapped out for cheaper alternatives, the kind of generic replacements Daniel wouldn't have touched before. Engines ran, sure, but not like they were supposed to. There was a difference between fixing a problem and truly solving it, and Tyler's approach was all about the bare minimum. The cozy waiting area that had been the heart of Hamilton's for decades was the next to go. Gone were the worn, comfortable chairs where regulars would linger, sharing stories over cups of fresh coffee from the little station Daniel kept stocked. Gone were the faded photographs of satisfied customers, cars gleaming under the sun, and handwritten thank you notes from people who appreciated the kindness and integrity Mr. Hamilton had built his shop upon. Instead, Tyler replaced it all with cold, impersonal vending machines stocked with overpriced snacks and drinks. He even installed a small credit card reader on the side because, as he put it, everything has to pay for itself. The shop's transformation was like watching a beloved old house gutted and turned into a sterile office building. Customers who had once been treated like family now felt like numbers on a spreadsheet. Their stories didn't matter. Their connections to the shop were meaningless in Tyler's eyes. Daniel watched in frustration as decades of goodwill started to crumble. Tyler hired fresh out-of-school mechanics who worked fast but lacked the experience to notice subtle issues only a veteran could catch. One humid July afternoon, Daniel was carefully rebuilding a transmission in Mrs. Jenkins' aging Toyota, the same car she used to deliver food to homebound seniors, when Tyler stormed over, clipboard in hand. "You're taking too long," he barked. "We've got a BMW waiting. Either wrap this up or let one of the new guys take over." Daniel glanced at the meticulously arranged parts on his workbench. He thought back to something Mr. Hamilton had once told him. "A mechanic who rushes is a mechanic who fails his customer. These people trust us with their safety," Daniel said, keeping his voice steady. "I won't sacrifice that for speed." Tyler's eyes narrowed. "Maybe you're too stuck in the past for modern business," he shot back. "We need efficiency. Clear out your bay by the end of the day." Daniel looked around. The stickers covering his toolbox, the framed certificates on the wall, the photo of him and Mr. Hamilton at his master mechanic certification ceremony. Without a word, he started packing his tools. Just like Mr. Hamilton had taught him, with dignity, until the very end. News of Daniel's departure spread quickly. Customers were outraged. The local classic car club, whose members had trusted only him, pulled their business. Even some of the younger mechanics Tyler had hired quit in protest. What Tyler didn't realize was that Daniel's reputation in the automotive world was legendary. Over the years, he had trained dozens of mechanics, many of whom now ran their own shops. Roman's shop. His expertise, especially with vintage and performance cars, was unmatched. Word of his availability spread like wildfire across professional networks and collector forums. Jacob Whitman, owner of Apex Auto Performance across town, had been trying to recruit Daniel for years. The moment he heard the news, he made an offer. Not just a job, but a leadership position as head mechanic and technical director, with full control over quality standards and training. Though leaving Hamilton's was bittersweet, Daniel accepted. Leaving Hamilton's Auto Repair was the hardest decision Daniel had ever made. For nearly 30 years, it had been his second home, the place where he'd poured his sweat, skill, and heart into every car that rolled through its doors. The thought of walking away felt like tearing a piece of his own soul out. Hamilton's Auto felt the loss almost immediately. Jobs that Daniel used to handle effortlessly now took twice as long, sometimes longer. The younger mechanics Tyler had hired, eager but inexperienced, fumbled through repairs that required a skilled hand and years of knowledge. They knew the basics, sure, but the complex restorations Daniel used to master were far beyond their capabilities. Classic car owners were the first to notice. People who had trusted Daniel for years with their cherished vehicles, cars that were more than machines, they were heirlooms, memories, and dreams, began pulling their vehicles from restoration projects. Mr. Dawson, with his beloved 1967 Camaro, drove off with a glare that could cut steel when Tyler tried to charge him for a half-finished repair Daniel would have completed perfectly. 2 weeks later, heads turned as a sleek black Rolls-Royce Phantom pulled up outside Apex Auto. Daniel was beneath a restored Porsche 900 when he heard a voice he hadn't expected. It was Tyler, but this wasn't the same arrogant boss from 2 weeks ago. This Tyler looked exhausted, humbled, maybe even desperate. "My uncle's coming out of retirement," Tyler admitted. "He said his biggest mistake was not making you a partner years ago," he sighed. "I was wrong, Daniel. The shop doesn't just need your skills, it needs you." Daniel rolled out from under the car, ready to refuse. But Tyler wasn't finished. He pulled a thick folder from his leather briefcase. "We want to make you a full partner," Tyler said, his voice steady, but laced with something Daniel hadn't heard before: humility. The young man stood before him, looking smaller somehow, his eyes tired and his expression stripped of the usual arrogance. "Uncle Hamilton is restructuring the business. He wants me to step back and let you run things the way they were meant to be run, the way you know they should be run." Daniel blinked, his hand still holding a wrench he'd been using on a stubborn bolt. The words didn't quite register at first. It had been months since he'd left Hamilton's Auto, and while he'd made a decent enough life at Apex Auto, there was always that lingering sense of loss, as if a part of him had been left behind, rusting away alongside all the neglected projects Tyler had refused to finish. "I'm not sure I'm following, Tyler," Daniel said carefully. Tyler's shoulders slumped, the weight of his own mistakes visible in the way he carried himself. "The shop's falling apart without you. Customers are leaving in droves. The revenue I was so obsessed with, it's gone. And worse than that, the trust is gone. I thought I could make things better by cutting corners and speeding things up, but all I did was destroy everything my uncle built." Then you could see the sincerity in Tyler's eyes, the regret churning just beneath the surface. He had never expected Tyler to own up to his mistakes, much less seek him out to make things right. "Why come to me now?" Daniel asked, his voice quiet but sharp. "You made it pretty clear you wanted me gone." Tyler nodded, his expression pained. "Because I was an idiot. Because I was so caught up in trying to make the business more profitable that I forgot what made it worth anything in the first place. You. The way you treated people. The way you fixed things. Not just cars, but relationships, reputations, lives. Uncle Hamilton always said you were the heart of that shop." I was too stubborn to see it. Daniel felt something soften inside him. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was something close. "So, what's this about a partnership?" Tyler took a deep breath. "Uncle Hamilton's made me see things differently. He's handing me the business to run, but he said it's not worth running unless I do it right. He wants you to be a full partner. You'd have control over training, quality, everything. The shop needs to be run by someone who understands that being a mechanic is about more than just fixing cars." Daniel's gaze narrowed. "And what about you? Where do you fit into all of this?" "I'll handle the administrative side, marketing, bookkeeping, things like that, and I'll stay out of your way when it comes to the work itself. All I ask is that you give me a chance to earn your respect, because God knows I haven't done much to deserve it." The offer hung in the air like the smell of fresh oil, rich, sharp, impossible to ignore. Daniel studied Tyler's face, searching for signs of deceit, but all he saw was a young man desperate to make amends. And maybe, just maybe, something had shifted in him, something genuine. "What about the customers?" Daniel asked. "The ones you drove away?" "I'm hoping you can help me bring them back," Tyler admitted, his tone humbled. "I'll do whatever it takes. Discounts, apologies, hell, I'll go door to door if I have to." But they trust you, Daniel, and if you're willing to come back, maybe they'll give us another chance." Daniel was silent for a long time, his fingers playing absently with the wrench in his hand. The shop he had once called home was falling apart without him, and Tyler, for all his faults, was trying to make things right. Maybe that was worth something. Maybe that was worth everything. "All right," Daniel said slowly. "I'll come back. But if I do, things are going to be done my way. The customers come first, always. And if you're serious about earning my respect, then you'll have to prove it, every single day." Tyler nodded, his expression a mixture of relief and determination. "You have my word, whatever it takes." And so the partnership was born. The changes were immediate and profound. Daniel took charge of training the younger mechanics, teaching them not only the technical skills they lacked, but the integrity and compassion that made Hamilton special. Repairs were no longer rushed, corners were no longer cut, and the parts Daniel used were only the best. Customers returned slowly at first, their skepticism gradually giving way to the trust Daniel had earned over decades. Mr. Dawson brought his 1967 Camaro back for a proper restoration, and Mrs. Monroe once again relied on Daniel's kindness to keep her old sedan running. Even collectors who had sworn off Hamiltons found their way back, drawn by the reputation Daniel had built with his hands and his heart. And Tyler? He kept his word. He handled the marketing, the bookkeeping, the endless paperwork that Daniel hated so much, and he listened. He paid attention to how Daniel dealt with the customers, how he managed the work, and how he treated people with the same respect Mr. Hamilton had once shown. Today, Hamilton and Carter Auto Shop still stands proudly on Maple Avenue. Its reputation for top-tier craftsmanship and personal care has never been stronger. The shop has grown, yes, but the principles Daniel fought to protect remain the same, and every time Daniel sees the sign above the door, he feels a deep, unwavering satisfaction, because Hamilton's isn't just a business, it's a legacy, and one he's proud to share. Because true value isn't just built, it's lived. Love this story? Hit that like button and subscribe, and don't forget to check out the next video on your screen. You won't want to miss it. See you next time.